I have a question here that reads, does the Bible condone the death penalty? And this was asked by Lynn. So there's a lot to look at here. I will start with Genesis chapter 9 because that is one of the earliest things that we can see that speaks about this. We could go to Cain and the rules regarding him, but that was a one-off situation and is not quite as applicable. So Genesis chapter 9 is really the best place to start. So Genesis chapter 9, starting in verse 1, this is right after the flood and Noah, and this is what God says to them. Genesis chapter 9, verse 1, and God blessed Noah and his sons and said to them, be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth. The fear of you and the terror of you will be on every beast of the earth and on every bird of the sky, with everything that creeps on the ground and all the fish of the sea. Into your hand they are given. Every moving thing that is alive shall be food for you. I give all to you as I gave the green plant. Only you shall not eat the flesh with its life, that is its blood. Surely I will require your lifeblood. From every beast I will require it. And from every man's brother, I will require the life of man. Whoever sheds man's blood, by man his blood shall be shed. For in the image of God he made man. As for you, be fruitful and multiply. Populate the earth abundantly and multiply in it. In laying out some basic rules for mankind immediately after the flood, God spoke on the seriousness of murder and gave the capital punishment as the appropriate response for that crime in particular. This also creates a distinction between murder and executing someone for doing something horrible. Those two things are not the same thing as God seems to lay out here. This punishment is later restated and extended to other serious crimes when the law of Moses is given. So in Leviticus 24, we have an example of this occurring. Leviticus 24, starting in verse 10. That's Leviticus chapter 24, starting in verse 10. And it reads, Now the son of an Israelite woman, whose father was an Egyptian, went out among the sons of Israel, and the Israelite woman's son and a man of Israel struggled with each other in the camp. The son of the Israelite woman blasphemed the name and cursed. So they brought him to Moses. Now his mother's name was Shelemith, the daughter of Dibri of the tribe of Dan. They put him into custody, so that the command of the Lord might be made clear to them. Then the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Bring the one who is cursed outside the camp, and let all who heard him lay their hands on his head. Then let all the congregation stone him. You shall speak to the sons of Israel, saying, If anyone curses his God, then he will bear his sin. Moreover, the one who blasphemes the name of the Lord shall surely be put to death. All the congregation shall certainly stone him. The alien as well as the native, when he blasphemes the name, shall be put to death. And then in verse 17 it reads, If a man takes the life of any human being, he shall surely be put to death. The one who takes the life of an animal shall make it good, life for life. If a man injures his neighbor, just as he has done, so it shall be done to him, fracture for fracture, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, just as he has injured a man, so it shall be inflicted on him. Thus, the one who kills an animal shall make it good, but the one who kills a man shall be put to death. There shall be one standard for you. It shall be for the stranger as well as the native, for I am the Lord your God. Then Moses spoke to the sons of Israel, and they brought the one who had cursed outside the camp, and stoned him with stones. Thus the sons of Israel did, just as the Lord had commanded Moses. This incident, along with a few others, set a standard for dealing with the most serious crimes among God's people at the time, and served as a warning to the entire rest of the assembly. This is why the specific name of the man's mother was mentioned, because they wanted all Israel to know that this was a real thing that happened and there were real consequences. Let's turn now to Romans 13. This will be the last place we look for now for this question. Romans 13. The context here is slightly different, and its application is slightly different, but it's relevant to our discussion. Romans chapter 13, starting in verse 1. Reads, Every person is to be in subjection to the governing authorities, for there is no authority except from God, and those which exist are established by God. Therefore, whoever resists authority has opposed the ordinance of God, and they who have opposed will receive condemnation upon themselves. For rulers are not a cause of fear for good behavior, but for evil. Do you want to have no fear of authority? Do what is good, and you will have praise from the same, for it is a minister of God to you for good. But if you do what is evil, be afraid, for it does not bear the sword for nothing, but is a minister of God, an avenger who brings wrath on the one who practices evil. Therefore, it is necessary to be in subjection, not only because of wrath, but also for conscience's sake. This scripture describes one of the government's main roles as punishing evil behavior to protect the rest of society, and use of capital punishment for certain serious crimes is supported by the Bible. But, having said that, the greater emphasis is for us as followers of Christ to set good examples as followers of earthly laws, which would keep us far away from the kind of behavior that would incur such terrible consequences. You have anything to add?
And there are things that, once we understand what the law of Moses was trying to communicate, that helps us to understand what kind of behaviors are good and bad behaviors. Now, we may or may not be a part of the state which is given the authority by God to punish those things. And we have members who are part of the military, or sometimes they're parts of the police force, and so they have a role in that. But largely, this is something that we leave up to the government to be able to handle. But it is our job to make sure that we maintain God's standards, and everything is a good example, like you said.
Also, one of the things that people often say about capital punishment is that if the government is imperfect or has an imperfect justice system, then that concern outweighs it. However, and we see things in the Bible where people are killed unjustly. Stephen killed unjustly. Naboth killed unjustly by an unjust government. So governments can do this. Oftentimes they become corrupt and deal out the capital punishment incorrectly, but it is on us to maintain a good behavior whenever we can and understand that governments are imperfect, but God will judge that.
Yeah, and let's just be clear. So for those folks who say, oh, no, capital punishment, that's just unjust, let's remember who the creator of capital punishment is. It is God. In Genesis chapter 9, he was very clear that if you take another man's life, your life will be taken, right? We're not talking about murder here. We're talking about justice, right? God created the death penalty, capital punishment, and then he put rules in place, for instance, in the law, for them to carry that out appropriately. And as Torek has read, governments are in place to exercise what God ultimately instantiated and created from the very beginning.
Part of this understanding of this does require a belief in the afterlife. If you only consider to be this life the only shot, then yes, death penalty has a whole lot more weight. But if you're thinking about the idea that there is also an eternity with an ultimate judge outside of human realms, governments are imperfect, that's right, but God's not imperfect. Correct. So if we do the best we can to uphold God's standards and everything, and we send a soul back to him for judgment, for processing according to his wisdom, that's less on us.
Correct.
That's mean we're doing the best we can. This is the law. We're going to exact the best we can, but there is a final judge that's even above us.
And God will also judge those who judge unrighteously.
Yes,
so we have to remember that he will take care of all of that.